Hi, I'm Jeff Christian from the Oak Ridge National Laboratory. I've been at the Oak Ridge National Laboratory for about 3 decades and continually focused on the issue of improving the efficiency of buildings in the United States. My position there has gone from researcher to the director of the Buildings Technology Center, which encompassed about $20 million worth of research, about 80 individuals, and then back to the trenches, back to research. The subject matter is going to be focused on 3 general areas in this presentation. The first one is directly to companies such as Owens Corning and the importance of working with electric utilities. The very important issue is currently the government is likely to be backing down on the amount of investment in efficiency, and that needs to get picked up by 2 entities. One, electric utilities that have in their vested interest to put a lot more into the efficiency in homes as opposed to expanded capacity. Collaborations between companies such as Owens Corning and electric utilities, a major issue of the day. Secondly, homeowners. How to get homeowners in their radar screen the extremely important issue of retrofitting their homes. That is an enormous issue. Every single home, every single building, in my mind, ought to be on the path of zero energy. And that should be a very high-level goal. I work very closely at Oak Ridge National Laboratory. Some of my best friends are climate folks that have been given a lot of opportunity to study the climate issue, and it is real. And with that, as an urgent message, I'm going to do one more thing in this presentation. And we live in a day of Facebook and things out there. You're going to see live an interview and how I'm going to try to sell myself to the Oak Ridge National Laboratory. So you be the judge. Do I get the job or not? Thank you. Well, thank you very much. And you saw the rules, but nobody said you couldn't throw fruit. So, you know, if there's anything that you object to, I welcome abuse. It's interesting, this is the 3rd Insights. I have been here once every 10 years, and it's always an honor, and I have enormous respect for this company. And I recall in the 80s where I was looking at Business Week, and the #1 company as far as investment in R&D in the building sector was Owens Corning Fiberglass. And I was at Oak Ridge, and it was something that we always worried about, that we were under-researching in this very important area of which our budget was minuscule compared to yours. And I remember the people like Merle McBride and Paul Shipp and Ken Wilkes. These guys, the words were, to get in this door, you had to walk on water. And there was no criteria higher. So that's my biggest memory, and I've always respected this house, and when I come here, it is a true honor. I'm going to apologize ahead of time a little bit. I was told to talk about myself, and it's something I hate to do. I'm kind of a shy guy, but you're going to see a little bit more than the average bear. And part of that is, I understand this could be on the internet and with social media. In a way, I am interviewing to the entire world. And the success will be, does Jeff land a job? And so, you know, we're going to put a poll up on the internet. Hey, do you think he should get it, or should we bag him? So the first thing I want to boast about is I've been involved in just a pleasure in the development of zero energy houses. And this started with a lark. It was at the Tennessee Valley Authority, which is very generic to the title of this because I believe that electric utilities need to carry the day. You read the paper, people like me that are indirectly on the government payroll ain't going to be there next year and a year after. Who's going to pick up the ball? It's got to be electric utilities. That thread is going to run through this presentation. We have got to form alliances. That's not incentives. That's a much better investment than generation to put it into the efficiency of our buildings. And utilities know that. How do we convince 100 million homeowners and all the building owners out there to play this game in a major way that we have to do to avoid the 2-degree increase in climate change, of which is very much a live issue. So this was a wonderful experience. I got to talk and all kinds of documentaries, starting with one small house. That one small house, when we put it together, collect some data, $1 a day. $1 a day for a family that lives in this house, that actually doesn't go out to eat, doesn't send their laundry out, doesn't do the European vacation for a month. They live in this house full time, $1 a day. Proceeded by working through 5 of these, we got down to 48 cents a day. This is compared to the other houses in the neighborhood that were in $4. I love talking about the technical aspects of this. This house, I saw the utility truck in front of it one night, and I thought, ha! I know I've come. This utility can't believe the power is so low. They're there at night seeing what's going on. I come the next day, that truck is still there. I go, whew, this is quite a study. These guys are really looking this over. The electrician that wired up this house, the first house to sell electric power legally to the Tennessee Valley Authority, started dating the single mom. So forget about this technical stuff. We're talking sex, we're talking love. This is what we started here. The Oak Ridge National Laboratory. We're a serious science house, man. We do, you name it, we do it. This is the first time a skateboard on the cover of the Oak Ridge National Laboratory Review, greening the real world. I hope you have the following experience. These kids, for 5 years, checking the data, talking to people, kids would come up. Hey, you the science guy? Darn straight I'm the science guy. You a science kid? I worked with a handful of these kids on science experiments, data off their house. I'll tell you success. If those 3 guys in that picture grow up, start a business, they've all lived in these little solar houses and kick butt in the real world with a little company that they formed as friendships as kids. That's success. Most important picture, except if you're a Democrat. I had the opportunity to brief President of the United States, President Bush. I have never noodled, except for this presentation, as hard on what exactly I was going to say to this group as I did for my 2-minute opportunity to talk to this gentleman. And as I'm going on, he's going, hey, you know that solar stuff on the roof? I heard that's kind of expensive. When you say this is such a good deal, did you include the cost of that? I go, well, yeah, sure did. He goes, well, that's awesome. I go, I know it's awesome. You know, and then he goes, you ever built on a habitat site? And I go, yeah, I have. Yeah. He goes, yeah, I was there once. I said, well, you come on back. And he goes, yeah, but I hit my thumb. And you wheel, you know, you ever hit your thumb? I want, no, yes, sir, it happens to me all the time. You know, I didn't want to insult him. You know, in the back of my head, I'm going, yeah, I wheel a nailer like you can't believe. Anyway, I didn't even think about it. I just kind of got caught up in the conversation, so focused, so concentrated. Afterwards, a colleague came up and said, you got the quote of the day. Guy thinks your science is awesome. So I never lose an opportunity to tell a crowd that story. You know, anybody, I'll bet you the women watch this, but not you guys. The show Extreme Makeover, can I just take up, how many have even heard of the show? ABC, Extreme Makeover. How many watch it on a regular basis? Oh, really? Okay. It's mostly about the family thing, and it's a cool story. But here, I want to tell you what happens to lead up to these houses is miraculous. If you believe in anything, you should see the stuff that happens behind the scenes. I got drug in by the Department of Energy. Hey, Jeff, you seem to be, you know, God seemed to make you for stuff like this. You know, see if you can't make something happen. And so the stories on leading up to getting houses to a 27 on the HERS rating. For those of you, 100's about a good, new built, regular house. 0 is a zero energy house. I had about $150,000 donated. And one of the big stories was we wanted to make this 0, but we had nobody offering, and by the way, they don't pay a cent for anything. Everything is donated. People, materials. And so I'm out there, and I had begged and borrowed solar collectors for 10 years, and it's like everybody's tired of me. It's like, Jeff, no more free stuff, you know. And I go, oh, this is big, this is big. And so actually we found General Electric was closing out a facility in New Jersey, and they thought they had some collectors that we could use. So the guy that's collecting this, he calls me up and he goes, Jeff, I got him. I'm now crossing the Jersey border, you know, and it was like the last minute. It was like beyond the last minute, and these houses, and I can go on and on and on about, you know, stories like that. One of the things that I think has to be done in our business, because the issue of the day is communicating in whatever manner, entertaining, whatever is the medium, to convince the homeowners and the building owners to really get serious about efficiency. So the idea of communicating stories and doing it in a fun, interesting manner is critical to success. So I've been used, or maybe abused, by our public relations. You know, they're always worried about, you know, trying to get some positive attention. By the way, the Oak Ridge National Laboratory, yeah, I remember one thing, they make bombs. You know, so I was used, and the whole building area was a lot about the good stuff that we do, and we were very successful. Nobody says that anymore. It's a lot about the good stuff that was going on largely in the buildings area that has been kind of the front end face of Oak Ridge. Another chance to be on the do-it-yourself television, and you know, I sometimes have a hard time, and I know the technical savvy behind you guys. I know you're going, hey, listen, give me some good science stuff. I know, but I am able to impress actors. When you work with a really smart science guy like Jeff Christian, you get all fired up. So at least I got this one guy saying, hey, I'd hire him over there at Owens Corning. The path that I've been on is, like I say, as I talk to kids, I teach over at the University of Tennessee, associate professor. You know, to have the opportunity to play in these sandboxes is incredible. And starting with this habitat, we did 5 of these, and huge tours. At one point, I'm on a bus, on a Greyhound bus filled with people. I got a speaker, and the homeowner that is in one of these houses comes, Jeff, for God's sakes, what is this, Disney World? You know, you got, you know, oh yeah, there's Mickey's house, and his house is 48 cents a day. And but that started by the CEO of TVA making a public speech, and I actually got somehow to write his speech. He was going to fund just 3 houses. I changed it to 5. And I tell you, you want to get stuff done, you get the speech writer for people like the president of this company, you know, and that's how you get stuff done. And so anyway, so the first guy was into this, and then the second guy, who is currently the CEO, and this is the same guy that has to answer the questions about why you spilled all that fly ash in the Tennessee River, he says, you know, very impressed. Oh, you got 5 houses done under budget, blah, 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 blah. But nobody cares about habitat houses. They don't have any money. I want you to get in spec-built houses. So he contracted to get these spec-built houses, and they're now robo houses. I know I'm very familiar with the houses that I assume are still standing here on campus. We have got the exact same behavior going on in all 3 houses, and that has led to a great deal of information. Very exciting, very, very useful facility for answering lots of tough questions in this world. 2, custom built. This was an opportunity. I took the same 2-ton horizontal loop, which in part I invented, to use the existing trenches in the house that worked successfully in a 1,200 square foot habitat house, and put it into a 3,700 square foot house. And last January, it used no electric backup and served that house 71 degrees. That's not about the impressive HVAC, it's about the impressive envelope. From there, we've got 10 extreme retrofit houses. I'm going to talk a little bit about that, one of which my colleagues here at Owens Corning are involved in that series, including some of your behavioral scientists, trying to figure out. I started with 100. I picked what I thought was the best 13, thinking I know that not everybody's going to follow through. The most valuable lesson learned is, I wish there was something like you that could be available to me 24/7 to help work through the decisions. Well, at my charge-out rate, that would be like 10 minutes of advice. How could we get into an engaged software, blah, 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 something to help people through the traumatic experience of not just a little bit, but a lot in their homes? And that has been learned from not only the best behavioral scientist, Amy Wolf at Oak Ridge, but several of your colleagues here at Owens. That's grown to 200 homes. We're piloting a home energy score. We all know about the importance of getting true ratings that could be carried to the appraiser of the property. There's wonderful success stories around the country. If we could get that, people would say, well, I'm only going to be in the house 3 years. So what? You're going to be able to sell it for $10,000 more because it's got this third-party score. So that's what we're doing here. And I've created a set of incentives out of my hard-earned research budget to give to homeowners if they behave themselves and do a lot of stuff. Success. Influence TVAs, and this is kind of like, I started with one small house, let me start with one large electric utility, and hopefully it spreads. And now we're talking about 4 million houses here, trying to create the success story. They've got many of the same issues that you have in Ohio. Okay, I thought hard, because I'm telling you, I'm here on my own time. And I had to sign something to say, that you guys can take this stuff and go make $1 million and you don't get squat. But I didn't want to hold back. I'm talking to the world. I'm interviewing in front of the world. I want to show my creativity. I want to show the ideas I've got. So I thought about this, but I want to share some of those ideas. And so I'm going to talk about, throughout this presentation, a couple of what I'm going to call gaps and barriers that I personally, and obviously that generically, I think anybody could be working with you guys on high-performance, low-energy homes, low-income, builder spec, custom. I have a wonderful project right now working with a dream of mine, which is a zero-energy house kit with Clayton Homes, which is right in my backyard. They have something, you can see it on the internet, called the iHome. They're going to do another 6. They've already got the setup right next to it where they're going to be building. And this is a company that's very aware this is not the space they're in. They're in low, they know they can't sell these houses on the same lot as their manufactured housing. These are modular, but they've got the means to do some big things. And I learned last night from Achilles, you know, he said, you know who owns this? You know, you're not talking to the right, you know. So anyway, I'm aware that some of the insulation products come from other companies. But we've heard this. Ducts to the interior. You guys need to come with a solution to, and if you don't like what's out there now and you're not selling it, by goodness, there is an enormous opportunity to insulate and properly seal that attic. Yeah, it's an expensive mechanical room, but the payout is big. There's a huge momentum in the retrofit business. This is generically going to be part of the solution. If you don't have a product, you can bash what's out there all you want. I'm not going to hold back anything here. You better come up with something better. And I just put that out as a challenge. I shouldn't be so threatening, but anyway, I just see it as an important area. Insulating and sealing inaccessible spaces. I've tested 500 wall systems out at Oak Ridge, and we've tested this stuff, and it shrinks and falls out. How do we get something into these wall cavities that truly delivers a reliable seal? And I believe that that's very, very important. The foundation retrofits, right now, everywhere you go, it's what can I do with that basement? Well, I got to solve the moisture problem first. Okay, I know you guys have some solutions. There needs to be more. There's a lot of disasters ready to happen, but people can't get to the outside, although I've got some ideas on that. How do they get safely on the inside that truly takes care of radon, takes care of moisture, and meets some pretty high R values? This is somewhat of something I stumbled into. Okay, if utilities are critical, they can say all they want. Yeah, no, we want to save energy too, and I know they do. But if we can go at it from an interesting, different perspective, let's reduce peak, and let's get that peak where utilities beginning to see the benefit of that, the homeowners begin to see the benefit of that, and so go at it from, let's first address peak, kW if you will, then kilowatt hours. And I've got a fabulous project up in Glasgow, Kentucky. I don't want to hold back, not telling, for those of you that are going to get tired of this and leave early. Glasgow, Kentucky. Small, 5,000 homes. Billy Ray says, we've got the answer to getting homeowners to behave themselves. We provide the cable television. And if we ask them to not use power during this time of day, and I know what works in this neighborhood. Free HBO movies. Forget about dollars. Forget about, free HBO. That works. With Achilles, the company I went with, free coffee shop. The River Coffee Shop. That would motivate Achilles. He would behave himself if he got free lattes. But that's saying a huge thing about human behavior, isn't it? That the dollars that we all seem to worry about, what other intangibles are more meaningful? Okay, so here I go, pouring out my best ideas in front of God and everybody. New OC opportunities. Drill and fill that seals, insulates, does not shrink. We need wall cavities and the attic, and I know many of you are very well aware of this. These attics, they have some kind of flooring in them. It's hard to get at. Yeah, I can put that hose and back it out just right. We could do better to get at inaccessible spaces. Oak Ridge just published about a 50-page paper trying to address in a balanced fashion what's out there, the good, the bad, the ugly, and so it's just an area that I'm intimately familiar with and would love to have a shootout. Bring your best ideas into Owens and let's get some plexiglass behind it, whatever, and see what goes on. But it can't shrink, or otherwise we lose our air tightness. The insulated because I already mentioned the insulated raised attic floor installs, above the existing attic. Okay, so a lot of times you can't get at that. It's maybe already filled with insulation, but it's only 11. How could we get something that we could get through the attic hatch and truly get the continuity of the R value without moisture issues and things of that sort? I'm trying to get out these things, but getting into people's attics, getting into people's houses, it's a huge barrier. And I know this isn't, the majority of people would never go up in their attic. But how do we offer a DIY for that insulating and sealing? And how can we introduce it? I think it's a huge product opportunity. And you guys might think you're already there, and maybe you are. But be the go-to DIY retrofitter supply house. And take that to the next level. I know you've had discussions like this, but I think that's a huge area. Basement and crawl space interior wall system with drying layer integrated with the radon mitigation. I've got some ideas. We're actually working on that. I think that's a huge opportunity. The issue gets to be between the insulation and the wall, how do we get a drainage drying layer? And if you start to think about this on a psychometric chart, when are the conditions right on the inside that I can pull that off? And when are the conditions right on the outside? Do I come from the attic? And I know every time you talk about venting in these systems, the arrows you draw always find times where they go the other way, and that has to be resolved. I'm going to introduce to you guys, I think many of you, another idea that I've had for some time called the Zekor wall, which is a utility wall on steroids. And when people start thinking about water savings as well as energy savings, having everything gathered up in a real tight wall system has some huge opportunities. And my pet project, Zero Energy House Kit. So just to kind of show graphically a little bit about what I was talking about, this is the layer, and see, I've already got the right color in there for you guys. And in fact, I saw a roll of it. I guess it was top secret that you already got. So it's just a matter of figuring out what to do up here. Which way do we get the air to get this drying? And then when you got the radon system, you're sucking subslab depressurization, of which I don't know where I was in that, but there's some in the 80s I wrote a chapter for an ASTM book that addressed how to do this, and I know there's been some evolution. But these are all put in, at least passively, in a lot of areas, including mine, to start with. And so how do we just take that to the next level to be able to suck appropriately, right here and to that sump or whatever. This is some graphics, just kind of quickly. Could we make this out of something, you guys? I saw some word on the lab down here, a composite lab. Could we talk about, this is non-structural, so could we ship, could we collapse? This is it's a good idea. And with that, a lot of BIM modeling to get the minimum conflicts of all the stuff that you want to have in here. Just a three-dimensional, this is the actual carried to the manufacturer then, who then can make this in the factory and ship it out. Lots of discussion potentially about how to slice this thing up and how to ship something other than air, and then the many issues associated with it. And this is just a graphic to kind of show a little bit about the idea of this being the heart of the system. And I've crunched some numbers to say that we've got some installation potential cost savings. Just think about, electricians, plumbers, their costs on a site versus the $10 hour that you can do in the factory. And this was done speculatively, but I've actually got physical experiments where we've done gray water waste heat recovery and use and things of that sort with the experiments now. So there is some serious opportunities. Let me put it in numbers. I'm going to show you in a minute a house, a 2,400 square foot house, 77 cents a day. If indeed we did the waste heat recovery, that's another 27 cents. So yeah, I got to spend some money to chase that. It gets harder and harder, but I think down the line there's going to be a need. There is an opportunity. Existing duct systems, manual J, manual D, right sizing system for interior. You know the way we take steam lines and right size them or just prevent sealing. I think there's some opportunities here, and I know the fiberglass is in the equation as far as a sleeve that gets pushed in from time to time. But then how could we enlarge it as we went? And these are the sizing of the HVAC, that's the sizing of the ducts. A huge issue is somebody does a great job on an envelope, huge improvement in the HVAC, and they leave the duct system. Yeah, they sealed as best they could, but it's pathetic, and it just undercuts the whole house performance. And we see that too many times. And so that's an opportunity that needs to be addressed. In the exterior foundation wall insulating draining system, an innovative excavation. I'm willing to share some of my ideas on this. I think that's important so I don't disturb the expensive landscaping that's on the outside of that house. Heaven forbid getting a backhoe in. Can we do it in a more elegant manner? Then how can we do a waterproofing injection system from ground surface, maybe down 8 foot? How do we inspect that waterproofing system? And then how do we slip down in what potentially could be a very narrow trench, 8 foot, not only the insulation, but a footer drain that is integral to the exterior insulated finish system that I know you guys developed some time ago called Warm and Dry. And back to the idea, and I'm not going to have a lot of time to elaborate on this, but the idea of gray water, which I think we're going to see more so in new houses, more of it, and there's the obvious use for irrigation, but the idea of bringing it back into a flush, all your commodes, the idea of some kind of tanks that need to be produced, and there's a whole series of rain garden liners, some kind of geotextile fabrics that I think you have the expertise to provide into those types of systems. This is the graphic, and this is the way our high-performance research houses are plumbed, where there's gray water separate from black water. You go in, and this is legal, it's about a $2,000 investment, something like a swimming pool filter system. And this is called clean water. I wouldn't call it that. I for one won't want to drink it. But the dog, maybe, you got to dye it, so it's got to be blue to go back in. And if you have the home run plumbing, the way our research houses are plumbed, that's going to all the commodes. That's 1.5 gallons per flush, 7 flushes a day, 3 people. That's a lot of sewer costs and water costs that, at least for one pop, could be saved. So, I look at our research houses and I see the energy bill. It's like, all right, 77 cents a day. And I go, holy cow, look at this water bill. I mean, why am I wasting my time? This is where the big expense is. And we all know this from the sewer charges are out of sight. We have done something, and this is, again, I started with a Habitat house and I went into these houses. We're actually using the electrical utility trench, actually using the water utility trench, the sewer trench. And these houses, they're called the Zebra Alliance. I know too well the results of this. It is like this was a first test, and gee, I wish I would have done it this way. But I think it's very promising. We've actually integrated the landscaping. This is a rain garden, so it's all the wonderful stuff of retaining roof runoff, site runoff, and actually using it to enhance the heat transfer for the heating and air conditioning system. So the idea, and I know you guys pride yourself on your system thinking, here's some big time system thinking. And this is a friend of mine, wonderful guy. If you ever move into Knoxville, hire this guy, landscape architect, incredible individual, man of the year, does a lot of parks. And he did this landscaping plan for me. And look, here's a bed to keep the soil moist above the loop. Here's another bed to keep that moist. Here's the rain garden. So now all of a sudden, it's hard to sell stuff that's in the dirt. and I'm going to show you a few pictures. You know, these are nice pictures, and then you show dirt. It's like, you know, the 80% of the decision makers that buy houses, which are female apparently, you know, they don't want to see dirt. They want to see a rain garden. Yeah, but the guy says, yeah, man, there's a geothermal system. Let me tell you about it. It just sips energy. See, isn't that, I mean, yeah, well, from beauty to, this is the pit for the rain garden, and these are the high-density polyethylene, and it's all designed. That's my design to match the loads. And again, I was a little scared about this. 3,700 square feet. Somebody had donated a 2-ton heat pump. That's all I had to work with, which, by the way, that may not be a bad rule. Let's just change our codes. Let's make them real simple, just like simplifying taxes. Okay, you only get 2 tons. Build as big a house as you want. You only get 2 tons. And then we run the foundation drain, the downspouts, even the gray water into this pit. And that, when it rains in the soil, you see these spikes and they go away. You have to have a continuous source. And so my evolution of research in this area says, what's a continuous source? Well, as long as people are using the bathroom, there's going to be a continuous source. Or showering, I guess I should say. Got to be careful. Black water doesn't go in there. There's a more elegant picture. And if you didn't hear it, 2-ton heat pump, Tennessee, this size house, no resistance heat. 0. It surprised me when I saw that. I was hoping it'd impress you. Even more opportunities. How about, and I might be careful here, your Energy Complete, can it be done on ducts? Don't want to talk? All right. All right. All right, now you guys can't take it if it's my idea, dudes. All right. Crawl space, I'm going to call this a quilt that permits termite inspection. I think, you know, for those of you that are into the most exciting part of the houses in the crawl space and basement, you know you need to do that in certain areas. And so there's simple solutions out there for doing this. And I would love to see your good bats wrapped properly and possibly with that pink drainage layer, you know, the solution. And oh, by the way, if moisture does build out, we can easily pull that stuff out as opposed to the permanent closed cell that I got to blow the house up to get it out of there. Here's another one. Okay, this is mine. This is mine. You guys can't take it. All right. I bike with all these young kids. I usually dying to keep up with them, but I know what's going on. They're in these evaluators of the TVA houses. It's called in-home energy evaluation. They're in 4 houses a day. And when I have an idea, I go talk to them. That's my focus group. Man, I don't want to take all credit because I use them to come up with the following. How about shipping, when somebody signs up for an audit, how about shipping them a Pink Panther tail? And that's going to be their door threshold draft stomper with your number on it. Hey, you want more energy savings instead of this tail? Well, this is just a tail that wags the tiger, and you call me and I fill the rest of the house in. Okay, dudes, listen, I want this. Don't go stealing that one. Okay, everybody on the internet, these guys, you can, all right, so that's for openers. That's just a teaser. That's to get in the door. You're now in the door. God, this is huge. Who's the marketing head of this thing here? Okay, then you can order, I'm just making this up, an attic hatch. Okay, so, and by the way, here's my biking buddies. These guys are in attics, crawl space. They don't lie. They're in, this is what they do their day, and at night they go, you know, suck all the life out of me on their bike. 50% of the customers would be elated. And where is it going to go? Those little knee walls. That's the problem, right? You know, yeah, you could gasket it up in a weekend and a half and pay $500. But man, if I had that Pink Panther, then something that on the spot could be ordered, you know, like this, that would be doable. And I'm told from my focus group that 30% of the customers would jump on this. And then, if they really want to go further, now I know, and you can see their wisdom. You know, less people are going to go put anything, no matter how lovable and huggable the product is. But we could have this as a feed. So there's a very clever process here, I think. Oh God. Okay, I don't want to stop. Roofs to roads. 8-minute storm in Tennessee took out $2.5 billion of damage. I know somebody in this room was smiling Because every single roof. I didn't listen all summer. This was April 27th. Instead of the birds, tweet, 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 it was boom, 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 boom. Except for a few of these roofers that only go boom, boom. That's the one I didn't want on my roof. All these shingles went where? And then towards the end of this, along comes this guy that chews up the asphalt in the front of my house and lays down asphalt. Roofs to roads. I can't do this one by myself. This is going to be some heavy stuff. But you're already into recycling. You want to do good. You want to be the company that's going to save the planet. Be the champion of this one. You'll be loved. All right, here a little self-serving. Create a position that is VP of Utilities Affairs. You got them for government affairs. If utilities, if you believe this, they're going to be a key player. Federal funding for building energy efficiency, and believe me, I'm in line. I'm the first in line. Hey, DOE, give me some more money for Oak Ridge. I need more money. Whoa, haven't you read the papers? You know, we're kind of out of money. All right, so this is real. As the economy improves, and I am standing here in front of you, it's going to improve. Strain of the electric utility capacity limitations. Right now, the utilities are saying, we're one group that's really happy that people have stopped using as much energy in their factories because we were right at the breaking point. When this comes back, and oh, guess what else is going to come back? Plug-in hybrids. All right, let's see. All right, we need 60% more of the grid. Whoa, boys and girls, we're in trouble. All right, where's it going to go? Oh, we're going to go build a nuclear power plant. Yeah, it's 20-year planning. You know, maybe we don't have another tsunami. Blah blah blah. You know, this is a huge issue. And a transmission infra. Do you guys know the tree that started here in Ohio that fell on the line that took out you guys know where that tree was a couple years ago? The big blackout. I don't know. Anyway, that started here in Ohio. One tree, just like fell on a power line, cascading. So the transmission infrastructure, and it's been improved immensely, but you know the limitations here. Time of day rates, I've been talking about it since the beginning of my career. Many of you, just as as gray and been around as long. But this is coming, and I think what's going to happen is going to raise the consciousness of energy consumers and savers. Once they get a little taste of this, I think that's going to open up some opportunities too. So my world, this is a local issue, but I have a feeling they're very similar as Ohio. TVA right now is got on their strategic plan to save this amount of peak. So we're tying in with their strategic goal. In my paper this week, they are at 850. If you believe it, they got a year to get to double that almost. So they got a long way to go. They are doing some wonderful stuff. I don't know if it's going to be enough. They have agreed to the EPA, as a result of some attorneys that were kind of firm with them, to not attempt to improve the emissions because they're going to be treated as new power sources, that they need to be taking these offline. So, if you know your children are less healthy because of what's in the neighborhood from that coal-fired power plant, and if you do a better job in your own home and your own selection, if we could connect those dots, that would be a wonderful thing and accelerate the layup of quite a bit of capacity. And if you don't know it, the numbers in our area are 62% coal. And delay the need. And in our case, it's called Bellefonte Nuclear Power Plant. And if we got to these types of goals, they could be giving a reprieve another 4 years. And there's some serious rethink going on in the nuclear industry. When I went to the Oak Ridge National Laboratory, I would sit there and say stuff like energy savings and solar energy, and it was like, didn't you go to the nuclear school? No, I can't even spell it. You see, I misspelled nuclear. But it's this tsunami thing is enormous. Here was the epitome of safety. Not good enough. And I know the seriousness of safety that you have in this place. I was told I need to hang on to the rails as I walk up steps. I was trying to impress Mika, who shuttled me here. I got out and I said, God, I'm going to clean his windows off. I got in the car and he goes, that's a safety violation. You missed the back window. Where do you get cooling? Well, we get it from the Tennessee River, unless the fish get really boiled at 90-degree intake, and all of a sudden, and twice now, we've had to cut back when we need to power the most because we don't have cooling water from this river. All right, so TVA is interesting. They've spent a lot of money on renting these houses and setting these things up, and it was they that started these more or less 10 habitat houses. Currently, we're working on these builder spec, these retrofit, and there's 3 houses all next to each other. The buzzword today, at least for when I want to get money, is IECC 2015 compliant. It is my belief that there is going to be a huge adjustment in who's going to be building our houses. And to get to 3 air changes at 50 Pascal, I have a feeling there's builders out there that will never come close. We've got 10 deep retrofits going in the Knoxville, Tennessee area and southwest Kentucky. This is this pilot. And this is interesting. Based on the score, and this is what I'd like to see in the real world, is that if you improve 3 points, I came out of my research budget with DOE's blessing, you get an extra $1,000. You do 4, and this is a scale, by the way, of 0 to 10. 0 being really bad, 10 being really good. And so if you improve from your retrofit, 4, you get 15, and if you improve 5, so these are roughly, we're talking 40% improvement. And that is coupled, and I'm going to show you in a minute, but in essence about $5,000. Will that be enough to do the 10, 15 that's needed to really get these houses deep? I'm currently working on things like 30 peak to deep energy saving house in Glasgow. Already told you about it. 6 modular houses with Clayton. And then I created something called Parade of Deep Homes, or Parade of Deep Retrofits. And I've got an NAHB. Listen to this. You guys, Tim Grether, he's not here. He and I were in the trench, years ago, getting, I know, our opposition was NAHB. And if you've been at the code hearings, you know what I'm talking about. I walked into this meeting. I was invited to the local chapter of NAHB Remodelers Council. And they go, Jeff, we have literally spent millions of dollars lobbying against people buying more pink stuff. And we should have been learning how to use that pink stuff. And I go, whoa, you're a born-again Christian. It's like, whoa, help us. Okay, so this is what we created. And I said, well, let's just take 3 houses. No, we're builders. We're high risk. Let's do 15. We got 15 good builders in town. Okay, so these are going to get a house, and we're going to make a story. These are what I lovingly call the Robo houses. Robo came from, I was invited to the block party. And they go, oh, hey, what? I go, wait, you dudes, I don't live in this neighborhood. How come you invited me? Well, we noticed that when we walk down the street, the lights go on all the same. The refrigerator doors open and close. Tell us about these crazy houses that we're living in. We call them the Robo houses. Okay, well, that's what it is. So I've got publications, and that's how they got named. This is the base house. This is the house which is IECC potentially 2015 compliant. By design, they look the same. The same builder built each one, but this one has got a few extra goodies in it. One is that it only has 77 cents a day, hard measured numbers, 2010. I am standing here in front of the internet, and I want to tell you that the added $32,000 for the goodies that you see on the roof and a better insulation package, if I were to take that money, put it into a 30-year mortgage at 5%, this paid for itself. So it's not just bragging about the energy. I did the neutral cash flow. This works. In this climate, cost of electric power, 9 cents. Compared to, and I have to be real careful at the block party when I was telling people about all this, and I tell them about their house. Oh man, I wish I would have thought of putting more insulation in my house. Just a little we had 2x6 optimum value framing, flash and bat. Actually, flash and this is blown in by another fiberglass company. R50 by the Wright company in the roof, and triple pane windows. You guys, I know you're making frames. You doing triple pane with anybody? Boy, you're well behaved. This is the retrofit house, 40% saver. And here again, let's talk the electric utility. Hey, when you want it the most, 1.5 kW, knocked out of about 9. That's money in their bank. I already made my point. Please, you guys, let's figure it out. You gotta figure out a good, better system. And I tried, and I failed. And I tried to use your good stuff. And so there's work to be done here. But here's what I want to point out. This is I apologize, don't care for you to see the detail. But I did a very rigorous, and you guys are a partner with 3 or 4 of these Building America teams. This is the procedure for a evaluation of the cost. It's a neutral cash flow, and if at the bottom of the day, for the $10,000 investment, this is a positive number, this is something that works. So I use the same loan that is available in my neighborhood, 10-year, I think it's about 6%, for heat pumps, and said, what if I could spend it here? And guess where the biggest bang came from? Insulating and sealing the attic. Yeah, guess where the biggest cost? Out of $10,000, $5,000 was for it. So there's huge benefit. Air tightness improvements. And I'm going to show you a bunch of stuff. So the potential is there. We got to come with the right products. Again, cost-effective, 40% savings. And now, based on the success of that, I've gone out and found 10 houses that are like this. Notice here some mold and mildew, some count windows, almost exactly the same, but this one's 18 years old. So there's, and by the way, these houses were picked, not by me, but by the statisticians in TVA that said this is what, when people bought new houses, this is the kind of house they wanted. This fits the demographics. So again, TVA, these are the houses, some specs as far as the HERS ratings. TVA ponies up about $2 million. So this is an electric utility. And when I first went to them, they said, hey, the next hot, this is 2002, the next hot thing is zero energy houses. They go, Jeff, you know we get our meal tickets from selling power. It was they that pointed out the peak load savings. So that is the path forward, no matter what smiles you get. Know that's the business part of to get in there. And so that's impressive when I see an electric utility investing in this, and very encouraging. And here's some of the insight I've gained. It's not only about peak savings. So that builder house in January was almost 15. These other houses, half of that. Hey, I saved half the peak. Not good enough. What does the load factor look like? What the heck's load factor? Load factor, and this is for the full year, the average kilowatt hour divided by the peak. So when you look at this, at least if you take that January, they're all about the same. But you sure would like to see higher load factors. I'm probably speaking, many of you know this. That's to electric utilities, their return on investment. If I got to spend $100 getting power to that house, I want a high load factor so I get paid back quickly. If it's 17, that's kind of low. I need to see a lot more. So anyway, that's the language they want to be talked to. Here is a huge insight, at least was for me. Okay, so let me just skip to this. On this retrofit house, if that was in Kentucky, the incentive from this pilot that I was telling you about, they would get $4,000. Now this house didn't get $4,000, but these are my friends at TVA. If I take the energy savings on these all-electric houses from that base house to that 40% savings house, this is the number. Almost 8,000 kilowatt hours. TVA tells me, I told you, 9 cents a kilowatt hour. This is what they feel it's worth. For 12 years, if I save that, that ends up being very close to what we're playing with on a pilot. So this is, if this is true, this is legitimate that utilities in a business decision could make to make this happen, and in a bigger, much bigger way. For those of you that are interested, we have a very, very good report that describes in enormous detail all of this. I'm not going to go into describing, but you kind of base house, that's the builder. The retrofit house, a couple of the features, single. We did add low E. We do have a heat pump water heater. This is the savings. Now we've churned it twice. This was a 3-ton air source unit. We've put in a mini split, and I've got some material on this presentation that shows it's pretty sad what it actually did. But it was one way of avoiding that messing with the attic. But it didn't work like I was hoping it would, and I'm concerned that a lot of people are migrating to this, and we may not be entirely ready. We are hoping next week to install a geothermal system. This is a picture of the attic, the way it was sealed, and I have mentioned many of the things. One very interesting thing, part of my gig here is that I can get this attic sealed and get a unit up there. When you're talking about truss systems, the word, can I cut the truss, comes up real quickly. And real quickly, it runs down the flagpole. So it's a challenge to make this happen. But I'm really a belief that, for goodness sakes, give me that drywall knife, cut an access. When the unit breaks, you use this other. After all, I don't care about air tightness anymore between that top ceiling and the attic. I do want to say this shows me the temperature elevated between the attic, that space, and the upstairs was only 7 degrees. This is a maximum all summer. Only 7 degrees, so if I set my thermostat at 76, we're talking 82. That's the highest. That's a lot of quality space that my wax candles for Christmas won't melt. And I'm just going to tell you that this says no humidity problem in the airspace. Now I'm going to get to the good stuff, and here's where Achilles wants to debate, and I probably should just skip over it because I always lose when Achilles argues with me. But this is the roof sheathing moisture in January. And I'm going to just cut to this with the blue, which is right here. This is the roof sheathing. That's underneath what I just showed you, that foam and fiberglass. I'm seeing some cautionary above 70% RH, and this is January 1 to end of January. And so I'm seeing some dabblings into this high moisture concern area. And so I real quickly want to say, well, what happens in the summer? And what happens in the summer is I'm drying enormously down here. Very low relative humidity. So I have experienced through the detailed measurements no moisture issues where a lot of people say that's a concern. If it wasn't done right, it is a concern. But in this case, we did it right apparently. This is a series of shots to say that we did raise the temperature. The temperature is about 30 degrees warmer on the south side. Does that impact the warranty on your shingles? Yeah, of course, depending. It's not going to help, but I believe that many of you that have looked at this would argue that that's no big deal as far as that kind of elevation. Black shingles get a lot higher than that. I'm going to jump. I'm just going to run through to show you some of the robots. We can't give cold showers to robots. We measure the BTUs. You only get a shower once it starts at 105. We learned that from giving robots cold showers. And by the way, robots don't complain. They're very nice to have. This one is the robotic door openers. I want to tell you one story about this. This is pneumatically controlled. So we were left with the group. This is General Electric that uses this all the time to test their refrigerators. They said, well, now be sure not to put that pressure too high because this little cushion here, you'll see what that's all about. And so we set it and then put the pressure at 20 psi and put the compressor on. And this thing opened up and closed and almost pushed this refrigerator through the garage, across the street, and into the base house. We now learned why this is foam and why it's not just stainless steel on the front, but on the sides as well. Oh, forgot to tell you, you need a little hole in the loop. So anyway. We are washing and drying clothes and using the steam. The other day I was giving a tour and there was a towel on the floor in the laundry room, and somebody said, wow, this is impressive. You even mess up the laundry room. These guys are really clever. I don't know what it was doing on the ground, but we do not open and close doors to the outside. We don't need to do that. We do human emulation. We work with EPRI. We actually have the sensible and latent load depending on occupancy upstairs and downstairs. I've heard of nobody, I want to say, as insane as us to do this, but it's a very impressive facility. We got into the control boards. It's not just on and off, right? This is what happens when you don't do the idea of, you want to get rid of the ducts, right? Because you don't want them in the attic when they're, so if you, instead of doing that, this looks good, doesn't it? Whoa, I don't want that in my house. And I don't want to see this. This is the hot pipes. And and these are 7 heads, so this is a multi-split. A lot of people are talking about this. There's a lot of potential. The Daikin system that's in another house is doing very well. This is not. In conclusion, the mini split, these are the kind of stuff we do. 30% more energy than a standard house, the way this thing was performed last heating season. And in the summer, it didn't even control the relative humidity. So there's been some good and there's been some bad. And again, TVA is they've been driving what goes in here. Should the incentives be extended? This just shows the base house, typical ducts in unconditioned attic in the garage. This was really interesting. Interesting because I had a bunch of interns and we bought this off eBay. We bought a aftermarket plug-in hybrid. And if you know, and I imagine your procurements, I can't buy a pencil. But this was a case of, I had this meeting with these guys, and they were on the internet. And they go, what do you mean we can't find a car? Here's one on eBay. And it led to the purchase. And I took a one-way ticket down to Florida, bought this car, drove it back, and did incredible stuff with it. A long time before everybody said, yeah, this was the future. And what it is we charged at night. And once again, I'm trying to get smiles out of my friends over at TVA Land. And I'm saying, look at this. Here's how you handle the situation. You only allow it to charge at night. And then at day, you go to work. And you guys need to sprinkle some more PV to have the icons on your campus here. And this is what's right across the street from my office, where I plug in to solar energy on sunny days. And not bad. 102 miles per gallon. No road tax until they catch up to that. 1,000 miles per gallon. So that's just the data that says with that plug-in, it improves the load factor. And this is where they stand. And this is important. Right now, we have influenced the Tennessee Valley Authority. They just closed on a bid. In January, they're going to announce a new energy audit tool, a homeowner engagement, and that's going to be announced. So this has had what I had started out years ago wanting to positively influence the electric utility. So, again, I summarize. Success of what in general is behind this presentation, somewhat hurried, is to clearly, and Achilles invited me to this IEA Annex 55, with you guys graciously agreed him to participate. And it's about statistics. It's about not just quoting a 40% energy savings, but what is the probability distribution? What's the risk of moisture damages? And by the way, the exercise was done by one grad student that took 5 weeks. It's like, oh my God, we have got a long way to go to compete with who invented risk analysis? Utilities with nuclear power. We've got to talk on the same terms as they if we want to be treated equally. So that's a huge, important point. We need to measure and validate statistically what we're talking about as far as peak and these annual savings, because now it's lights are going out, dudes, if you don't get the efficiency right in these homes. I'm real impressed with this retrofit that's going on. Forget about what this particular tool is. But right now, we're finding an average of 4.35, and it's just starting. I've got a handful that have actually got 5-point improvement, but the average is 6.3. Look at this. Interestingly, out of 100 homes, that's the average size, the same size as our retrofit houses. So we want to increase the electric utility investment in retrofit energy efficiency 10 times. And right now, TVA offers $500. You saw from this presentation, if indeed we can deliver the goods, and we have the capabilities in this room to be able to do that, we could see a whole lot more business by making that a success. And for me personally, I hope I cut some kind of deal with OC. So I thank you very much for your attention. Success of the intent of this presentation that you just heard. It would be manifested in the following actions. That a collaboration with Owens Corning and others work closely with electric utilities to carry on in the market transformation of residential and commercial retrofits. I feel that that is extremely important. All you have to do is read the headlines today. You're going to see a lot less government investment in everything and a lot more investment by others. And who is that others? The most likely candidate for that is electric utilities, to take that money that could go into generation and put it into our homes and into our buildings. It takes a lot of people for that to happen. It takes 100 million homeowners and who knows how many commercial owners to decide that this is important. And I hope from this that we have some very rewarding collaborations between Owens Corning, National Laboratories, electric utilities, that we can make that happen. Thank you very much.